Everybody had the memos ahead of time.
Right?
There's no surprise.
Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Administrative Services Committee meeting for February. First item is the approval of the minutes from January 16th meeting. Can we get a motion?
I am,
We got a motion, a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Privilege of the floor. Do we have any privilege of the floors? Seeing none, we will close the privilege of the floor. All right, our first item, local law intro 324, local law amending local law 1322, providing for a management salary plan for county officers and employees. Coroner supervisor for the Department of Health.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Mike Falk, County Chief Medical Officer and Coroner's Physician. We are here to discuss the management salary plan for Coroner Supervisor. I think most of you maybe were part of the discussion last fall about the needs of the coroner program to have a coroner supervisor. Our 6 coroners are all medical professionals, namely nurses. We, during this past year and for the 2024 budget, we had discussed allocating a public health nurse salary and fringe to cover this new position. We came into 2024 minus 4 FTEs within the department. This does not change that. This is not an extra position. The job duties and the job requirements have been established through the hard work of Human Resources, and we are now looking to propose a management salary in the range 5, which is a salary of $53,674 to the upper end of $82,248 for 2024 management salary plan. We, for the 2024 budget, budgeted roughly in the, if my memory serves me well, in the $58,000 to $60,000 range for salary for the 2024 budget. That's where we're at.
Question, is this individual also going to do the duties of coroners?
Yeah. So we envision this individual being employed full-time within the health department, probably working a Monday through Friday schedule, responding to coroner calls. The majority of our coroner calls are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So we will not be paying additional coroner fees for individual cases during that time. They'll be under salary. The only time when we would pay case rate to a coroner would be after hours and on the weekends or on a holiday. We talked about this before, but I think there are opportunities as we move forward. We get a reliable, experienced individual in this position. We should be able to look for some opportunities to reduce our cost to the medical examiner's office. May not be right away. It will be a gradual savings, but I think there's those opportunities. So.
Okay. Questions? Comments? You want to make a comment?
No, I'm just a little curious under section 3.
What's that?
That is definitely not my language.
I don't really know what, I mean, I kind of know, I understand English, I just don't understand what section 3 means.
Patrick Slagle to the front desk.
Sorry, Patrick.
No, that's fine. Patrick Slagle, County Attorney. So number 3 is just a boilerplate language that goes into most provisions. For some reason, if this is inconsistent with state law, new or old, then this gets taken out and the rest of the local law that affects every other manager won't be affected.
Okay.
So,
I
you know.
don't remember
if-
ever seeing that kind of language in any of our,
Okay.
thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, thank you very much. You might as well just sit there the whole time.
That's,
All right, next, item 2, local law, intro 424, a local law amending local law 1322, providing for a management salary plan for county officers and employees, law graduate for the Chautauqua County Law Department.
Patrick Slagle, County, sorry, move microphone, County Attorney. And this is actually for all the different law departments, not just the County Attorney's Office, but Public Defender, District Attorney as well. What we're trying to do is, again, we talked a lot last year, this year, about recruitment and retention. And this kind of continues to build on that, the fact that we have lost students who graduate law school, are pending taking the bar exam. We're going to sit for the bar exam, maybe have taken their bar exam, and are just waiting on the results. This allows us to, capture those students, ex-students now, and get them into county government working, and then hopefully once they pass their bar exam, they could be gainfully employed already, working in the county. So right now, we've had a couple instances where we've had someone who's, pending New York State bar exam, and we've had to hire them at a much lower level as a paralegal, where they have some experience, they could do more work. And it's hard to recruit those people because they're looking for a higher wage. So this gives us that ability just to recruit more individuals.
Now I do.
And the timeline has moved up in terms of when you graduate, when you pass, or when you take the bar exam, when you find out. I think when I graduated in May. I sat for the bar exam in July. Found out I passed in November, and then got admitted in March. So they've tried to shrink that timeline, but basically that's kind of the window you're looking at, where you have individuals who can come work for the county. So we'd like to take advantage of that.
Sounds good. And thank you for reminding me. I was trying to think of our catchphrase from last year of recruitment and retention.
Yes.
And now I wrote it down so I can remember that. So thank you for that. Any questions on the local law? Comments? Okay. Next is local law intro 524, a local law amending local law 707, real property tax law, section 459C, persons with disabilities and limited incomes, real property tax exemption. Introduce yourself, please, and then I've got something to read.
Thank you. I'm Kim Moline. I'm the Director of Real Property Tax Services here at the county.
Okay, thank you. And I just wanted to, I communicated with Susan Parker, and she texted me something to read, so I told her I would do that, so here we go. It says, "Hi, Bob. Thanks for being the best legislator." And oh, wait, I didn't mean to read that part. Oh, man. She goes on and on about how good I am as a legislator. Where does she pick it up here? Oh, here we go. "I am unable to attend the Administrative Services meeting today and ask the chair of the committee, Legislator Scudder, to read my statement of sponsorship and support for the local law amending local law 707, real property tax law, section 459C, persons with disabilities and limited incomes. That being considered in committee today. This is thanks to the work and research done by the Director of Real Property Taxes, Kim Moline, and written by the County Attorney, Patrick Slagle, which will provide needed property tax relief. Thank you, Susan Parker." And just to mention, Susan is also the sponsor of this, and I would like to have my name put on there also as a sponsor. So, there we go.
You want to start?
I'm not going to let you start.
When was it revised? Do you know?
Back in 2016, I believe, was the last time it was looked
And
at.
it was revised to 22,
Yeah.
20?
Mhm.
Okay, so back in 2016, this exemption's income maximum amount was increased to 22,000. Nothing has been done since. We're requesting 50,000. We've been doing research and it seems like that would be the best. With this exemption, the disability exemption, the property owner has to prove that there is an actual disability. They have to show all of that proof to the assessor, and they would have to make $50,000 or less to be able to get this exemption. And we feel the 50,000 is the state's maximum. They just did an increase in what their maximum amounts were for the exemption, so we feel that this would be good. That way we don't have to come back and rehash this in a couple years with more people, so that people aren't losing their exemptions.
Is the exemption a sliding scale?
No.
Okay, so it's 100%.
The sliding scale usually is based, yeah, like the percentages. So this will be across the board. If you make $50,000 and you are disabled according to what the state guidelines are,
Okay, that was
you
my
would be
other question.
entitled to that exemption.
Okay, so could you just expound on that for me a little bit? What, not specifically what, the state has a certain set of guidelines of, as to what conditions qualify.
Mhm.
And we follow that to the T.
Correct.
So
Yep.
we're looking to change that just from 22 to 50, what we currently do right now,
Correct.
for the income level.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're gonna be asked in audit control what the impact on the
It's-
budget is gonna be. Do we have any numbers?
It's hard to say what the impact is going to be because this is an exemption that people just apply. I mean, anybody can apply for. I can't tell you. Right now, it's not going to impact anybody for the disabled exemption because they already have it. It would be moving forward. So if
Okay.
somebody was considered disabled and made this amount, yes, they could apply for it. It's not something that gets like well publicized, like the assessors don't go out and say, hey, this exemption income has increased. It's more if somebody knows that there's an exemption, they go to apply for it,
Mhm.
and if they qualify or not.
Okay. Just be ready for that question on Thursday.
Thanks, Bob.
Any other questions, comments?
No, I guess, I'm sorry, I have one more.
Yeah, no.
So how does that work with a couple or a married couple? Does the threshold go up, does it double? Does it?
No,
Okay,
no. That income would be their combined income for the exemption. So if, say your spouse was disabled and you made $60,000, you guys would not be eligible.
Okay.
So it would be whatever your income
and
is.
it goes back to my original question with sliding scale, so, okay.
Yep.
Very good, thank
So
you.
it's the household.
It's the household income.
Okay.
Are you done?
Is the, last one. Is it in line with- You said you did some research, did you do research with other counties or?
Yes.
Okay, so we were behind, we're catching up now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel, since it hasn't been, it's been a while since our exemptions have
Yeah.
been looked at, that we needed to take a look at that.
Okay. Thank you.
No, thank you. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you. I'll see you in a few minutes for the next one.
Okay, next, local law intro 624, a local law amending local law 1322, providing for a management salary plan for county officers and employees. County historian.
Hello, County Executive Wendell. So what you have before you, again, this was passed in this year's budget. What we have done is, after the retirement of the last county historian, we realized that the job had to be separated. The job originally started out as, truth be told, a records manager, and that person evolved into a records management position. When the then 104-year-old county historian passed, they then just moved that $4,000 stipend over to the records management. prior to the retirement, there was a lot of question as to where records management ended and historian began and vice versa. So what we did is we created, it's a 20-hour-a-week position, flexible time for evening presentations, et cetera, presentations during outside of regular business hours. There will be regular business hours in the office. We do have a candidate we selected, and that individual was very clear, and both candidates that we interviewed were very clear that it's not to exceed the $30,000. Half of that salary comes from the county executive's office. The other half comes from our the 3% travel and tourism. So it will not have an effect on this year's budget. It's already been budgeted for.
Questions, comments, concerns? Quips? All right,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Boy, this gutter guy was busy sponsoring all these. Our next local law, 824, a local law amending the Chautauqua County Charter, amending section 4.06.
I think 4.05 is the first one. On
Oh, did I skip one? I'm sorry. 4.05, correct. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next chain of local laws come into play based on the recommendations of the Salary Review Commission that had met over a period of several months, several meetings, a lot of research. This first local law is reflective of their desire to actually have the Salary Review Commission meet every 4 years. And so you can see in here what the language already exists, and then the underlying language is the new additional language that's being added. So again, starting no later than April 1st, 2027, and then every 4 years thereafter, they shall meet to review. Again, there's no requirement that they, make specific recommendations, or no requirement that you actually take on those recommendations, but, just the fact to have them actually meeting every 4 years. Underneath the charter, there is a charter review commission that meets every 10 years. And so that's actually built into the charter that they meet every 10 years. And so I think the Salary Review Commission, opine that maybe they should meet instead of just having at the whim of anybody to call them into session. So those are the changes being asked for.
Questions, comments, concerns? Anything to add?
At this time.
All right. Next, we have local law amending the Chautauqua County Charter 4.06. When I first looked at this, it looked like we were eliminating the county executive, the sheriff.
So yes, to be
Everything's
clear,
right through, I'm like,
those
oh.
positions are remaining. This is just a bit of housekeeping. Back when the salaries were adjusted in 2017-18, actually even before that, when the Charter Review Commission looked at this, they put this section in here because you had to have some kind of jumping off point. This language is now old, outdated. Obviously, those salaries are no longer what the current salaries are. So it's a point of confusion, really, when you flip open your charter to kind of see what they're being paid. You see this, and it's not reflective, absent trying to figure out what the CPI was over all those years. And so, recommendation of the Salary Review Commission was just to remove that language altogether.
Yeah, when I read the charter every month, I stumble over that part.
That's great. I mean, you should always carry the charter with you. It's great to have.
It's part of my charter to carry the charter. So. Any questions, comments? Okay. Next, we have local law 924 establishing salary level for the Chautauqua County Executive.
Okay, this is the next recommendation made by the commission. Is that effective January 1st, 2026, the salary of the county executive shall be increased by $16,210. Again, just the background on that, a lot of work went into researching And represents half of the difference between what our county executive makes and what other county executive of equal makes. So again, it's a gap, it's half of that gap. It would be the 16,000. So effective January 1st, the salary would be increased by 16,000. January 1st, 2026, again, after the election.
So it was 92.5. It was not
No.
92.5.
No,
No.
so going back to the last proposal, that was actually, before the CPI was put into place.
So what is the salary now?
Current county executive salary is 111,420. And keep in mind, the proposal is written that a flat dollar amount will be added to that salary, whatever it is, as of December 31st, 2025. Because there will be another CPI added in between there.
Right. And I wasn't being positive or negative, I was just, I don't know if you can get that hand gesture on.
Simply a question.
Questions,
So
comments?
Is the raise based off the CPI number or is it based off the base salary number?
The proposal or the recommendation for the 16,210 would be based off of whatever the salary is as of December 31st, 2025. So there will be another CPI, potentially, if, CPI is zero,
Right.
there is no increase. There's potential for another CPI increase January 1st, 2025.
But whatever the number is, it'd be $16,210.
Correct.
Right.
And likely, in the future, you'd be looking to possibly remove this language. Well, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is not charter amendment, it's just local law. So but it goes back to one of the things, what we just discussed, that language was added into the charter. It gets confusing because it's left there. We're here, it's local law, so it's not numbers just stuck into the charter that kind of sit there for years that you'd have to remove.
Right.
Which is, because there's many ways we could have gone about this, when working with Debbie and the Salary Review Commission, their suggestions. Could have been just all charter amendments, but then it gets messy because then you have outdated, older language that's stuck in there.
All right. Next is local law intro 1024, establishing salary level for the Chautauqua County clerk. And before we talk about that, can you tell me what I'm gonna ask it for each one, so.
Current county clerk salary is 66,853.
So again, this is a recommendation that effective January 1st, 2026, the county clerk salary was increased by $17,880, which again is, you have the current salary, so this is half of the difference between what our county clerk's being paid and other county clerks are being paid.
Yeah. Comments, questions, concerns? No? All right. Local law, don't want to get out of place here. Local law intro 1124, establishing a salary level for the Chautauqua County Sheriff. Deb, would you happen to know what the sheriff's currently making?
Why, yes, I do. Current sheriff's salary is 100,476.
And this local law is effective January 1st, 2027, because of the off-year elections. And it's asking to increase by $10,355, which again is half of the difference between what our sheriff makes and other equivalent sheriffs.
these positions are subject to CPI except for legislature.
Correct.
Correct.
So there should be, for the sheriff, because of his different election cycle, there would be a CPI in 25 and 26.
Okay. Moves us to the highlight. Local law 1224, a local law amending local law 799-99, establishing salary levels for Chautauqua County legislators.
So the change recommended here, again, is that effective January 1st, 2026, the salary for the county legislators shall be increased to $14,732. So that's what the actual would be. It's not increased by whatever. That's going to be the set salary. And that was the change. The annual compensation for the additions, chairman of the legislature, majority leaders, that doesn't change. That was never a recommendation. So that's current what is being paid out. But just the salary would be $14,732. Again, I think Deb has what the current salary is and what that's pretty on spot. But
I already know.
I assume you already know about it if you want to.
She just had written not enough. I don't know what that meant. But.
So again, it's been 20 years since
20-plus years.
20 plus years since there's been a change.
23.
It's been well documented, and so the review commission felt it was necessary to go up to this amount.
So we're gonna go retroactive 14 years? Is that- Just kidding.
And again, this will be effective 2026, so after the election.
Very good. Comments? Questions? All right. Local law 1324, a local law amending the Chautauqua County Charter. Oh, I gotta read it all over again. Amending section 4.07.
So this charter, I should make a small step back. Any charter amendments do require 2/3 vote. So when it comes to the full meeting next Wednesday, it will require 2/3 vote to pass. This charter amendment, it's actually, if, depending on the order, if you vote for the first one that removed that section, this is going to renumber this section then from 407 to 406. That way you just don't have an empty spot there. So that'll be contingent upon if you decide to remove that old language out. Then the other change you can see by the underline and the crossed off, essentially is adding county legislators to the CPI calculations. You know, I will note though that CPI is the default. You know, as the language here says, that in the absence of a local law or charter law in effect on or before July 1st, that designates the salary of the county executive, legislator, sheriff, or clerk. What that basically gets to is that you have the ability to override that default CPI. So for some reason, if you see the economy is going up or down or someplace else, you can, before July 1st of that year, you could pass a local law setting what the salary will be for that year, for that upcoming year. So that's an option in here that's not, but the default is CPI, and that, I think that's common, you know, whether you call it CPI, whether you call it a COLA increase, cost of living increase or adjustment. The idea was that it was put in here by the Charter Amendment Review Commission for the county executive, for the clerk, and for the sheriff, so that they have just an annual increase. The idea is that should also apply to other elected leaders, such as the legislature. So
when does this take effect?
So this will take effect, upon filing with the Secretary of State, so right away. So when it gets filed with the Secretary of State, so that for 2025, it'd be the
Essentially
next.
January 1st,
Yeah, January
2025.
1st.
Oh, so we would see that then go into effect January 1st, 2025.
Correct.
Although again, I mean, it's subject to how things happen, but should you approve the raise for the legislators to the 14,000, then you wouldn't get CPI, because again, what that local law is doing is overriding the CPI, because you are setting forth what the salary will be for 2026, because it's already set for 2024, 2025.
But if,
So by operation, they will.
so can I ask a question though? But if this is approved, they could potentially get CPI increase January 1st, 2025.
No, because there's, the local law already set the salary for what it would be for the
January
term, so
1st,
they couldn't,
2026.
right, it would go in effect 2026, the CPI.
Final answer?
Final answer, because you wouldn't be able to vote, because if you pass this, you'd be potentially
be-
raising your rate
Giving us a raise.
during your
without
term.
Giving us a raise.
I mean, and you could do that, but then that goes out for permissive referendum, potentially mandatory referendum, which we look to avoid. And so by passing the first, and that's why there's a specific order in how this is going, because obviously if certain things pass in certain order, so if you pass your legislative adjustment, then what you're saying is then our salary will be this on 2026, so you're overriding the CPI for that year. The following year, if you don't set your salary, the CPI by default kicks in and will increase it by what that's based upon.
That makes sense.
Okay.
I like round numbers. When people ask me, well, what do you make? I say $9,000. $14,732. But wait a minute, we got a cost of living in.
I wouldn't know any of these local laws too, should you want adjustments, you would need a message of necessity that night by the county executive saying why it needs to be, done that night. 2/3 would have to vote that it's an emergency, needs to be amended, and then 2/3 would have to then vote on the amendment. So it's a process to amend a local law. It could be done. It's a little more difficult, and so generally what happens if there's changes of thoughts, a lot of times they'll be tabled or withdrawn and a new local law will be brought forward. So just if you're thinking of how to do that, and we could walk through more steps at another time. If you're thinking there might be amendments that night, we could talk about that more, in case you want to round it, make it a round number.
So if we amend this next Wednesday, it pushes it off a month.
Unless you get a
Unless
message of
you
necessity from
do
the
what
county
you just
executive,
said. Okay.
yes, which has happened before in the past, and it could happen.
Right.
But I just want to put that in your minds that, you can always contact my office too if you want to talk and walk through some ideas about how that would work.
Okay. I mean, not that there's no real crunch here. They have to, if it took another 30 days.
Right, it wouldn't be.
Although you kind of want to have it figured out and not just keep doing this every. It'd be sort of fun, but not that much. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns? All right, let's move on.
Okay.
This is a renew and amend. Resolution 31023. Amend capital project accounts, Jamestown Community College.
Good afternoon, Jen Swan, Budget Director for Chautauqua County. We needed to do a quick amendment to this resolution because the initial resolution included a revenue account that was actually for bonding. So we needed to go back and adjust and take funds from a slightly different place. So that's what created the need to amend this original resolution.
Comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
It's close. Yes.
My notes for this resolution state that this is just a discussion and that legislature, you'll have to make a motion to renew renew resolution 310 and
Okay.
amend it at that point.
Okay, so we withdraw our vote. And we want to talk about how we felt about voting? Just kidding. Okay. Proposed resolution, here we go. My favorite time. Reconciliations. Amend the 2023 budget for year-end reconciliations. County clerk. Are there any county clerkers here? I hear somebody coming.
Just me.
Would you just sit there in case these?
I
people-
know, I should just stay, making myself comfortable. Bear with me, I have to get to it here. Okay, Jen Swan, Budget Director again for Chautauqua County. 2023 budget amendments for year end at the county clerk's office. As you can see, there are personal services and employee benefits that all went slightly over to the tune of $46,205. They were able to amend within their budget, decreasing other appropriation accounts accordingly, and I guess that's it.
There you go.
Sorry.
Questions? Do we vote on this one?
It's exciting.
Any
stuff.
questions, comments, concerns? We good? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Proposed resolution amend the 2023 budget for year-end reconciliations. Legislature.
I don't know if we have anybody from the legislative office that wants to speak to this resolution or not. If you'd like. I mean, if there's something specific. I don't know the specifics, so that's completely your call.
Go ahead.
She's the pro. She can do this.
I can try.
You'll do great.
All right. Olivia Lee, Clerk of the Legislature. Okay. All right, so the A1010 and A1040 accounts are over budget, and there is $1,279 that I'm unable to cover with funds from other accounts under my budget. The need for use of fund balance in this resolution is caused mostly by employee benefits being over budget, and those are numbers determined by finance.
Bless you.
Bless
Thank
you.
you.
Let's vote on whether we should say bless you.
Well, it depends if you believe in God.
We're all in favor.
I believe in God, so you can say it.
I think it's written as crossed.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, carried.
See, that's what you need to do.
All right.
The unified courts who broke the table.
Next is amend the 2023 budget for year-end reconciliations, unified courts.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Jen Swan, Budget Director. A number of very small overages in the contractuals in the unified court costs. All of the sub-departments are listed before you to the tune of $2,553. Again, we were able to amend within the unified court budget, and we are doing that by decreasing the appropriations and the contractuals to the Indigent Services Child Custody account.
Questions, comments, concerns, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Proposed resolution amend the 2023 budget for year-end reconciliations, county attorney.
Good evening.
Somebody here who can, you know.
County Attorney. I'm here as a department head to speak as to my budget. This is budget neutral. We're able to take the money from within our department. Myself being new, I had some additional trainings. We had some work being done in our office to create new space. So that's the increase in our contractual. To offset that, we're able to take that from the personal services account. Basically, DSS had lost several attorneys, so my office filled in and were budgeted and paid for by that department. And also we've, done some other things. We haven't been able to unfortunately find a paralegal, and so we had some personnel money that are available to offset those expenses by. So budget neutral, and I'm happy to present that.
And you are no longer new.
Right.
That's the first time today we've heard budget neutral. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. That new guy did pretty good. Oh. Next, amend the 2023 budget for year-end reconciliations, health insurance fund.
Hello, Kitty Crow, Director of Finance. The fund had some contractual expenses that were over in that account and were able to be offset by our benefit surcharge account. We do still have some outstanding, just as an aside, we'll have another resolution next month. We do have some expenditures outstanding that haven't been posted yet, so we'll have another reconciliation type resolution next month. But this is what we know of so far.
Get it while you can. Comments, questions, concerns, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried. Next, we have amend the 2023 budget for year-end reconciliations, energy fund.
The energy fund had some permit fees that were not planned for in the budget, but we did have additional interest earnings which were able to offset that expense.
Questions, comments, concerns? All in
like
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Man, we're crossing these off. like all these business.
Might have time to talk to you after the meeting.
Proposed resolution, amend the 2023 budget for year-end reconciliations, insurance liability, CS fund.
Okay, so this one, it's not that complicated, but just wanted to tell you a little bit more explanation behind some of these entries. So the CS fund, just as a refresher for some people who might be new to this committee, the CS fund is where we aggregate all of our liability insurance premium costs, and then from that fund, generally, we charge all of those expenses and total out to all county departments based on different methodologies for allocating certain insurance premiums. So part of this resolution is reconciling our premium costs, which were about $60,000 over budget, and that was charged back under participant assessments to departments. So those are the entries, CS 1989.4 contractual increasing by 58,000, and then you'll see the offset below, which is CS 1989 R270 for participant assessments for roughly 59,000. So that's what we allocated back to departments. The remaining expense overruns were due to kind of more unusual items that occurred during the year, and that's why there's a proposal here to use some of the CS fund balance to offset those cost and I'll go through those now. So we did have an instance of fraud during last year, roughly, we were able to recover some of it, but not all of it. And so the net expense to us was about $158,000. We also had a few remaining expenses related to the flood that in HRC, which happened actually in 2022. But we had some insurance recoveries associated with that, but we had a net remaining expense of about $15,000. And we did have some, every year we do budget for like legal settlements, but we did have a few more than what was budgeted in the year. So that caused about a $30,000 overrun. We did have additional interest earnings in this fund. So the net of those items are what we're proposing to utilize CS fund balance to cover. And the reason I suggest that is we do have about right now $2 million in our insurance reserve. And because these are, what I would consider one-time items, that would be an appropriate time to use our reserves to cover those expenses. Otherwise, what we would be doing is just charging back that additional expense to county departments through our normal allocation. But again, I thought it would be an appropriate use of our fund balance, so that's how I prepared the resolution.
I understand that, and it makes sense to me.
Okay, I don't have to repeat. No, but I'm happy to answer any other questions. I know this one isn't as straightforward, even though it all balances.
You did a good job.
Just a quick question.
Mhm.
You mentioned the fraud. Is that a line item that we don't budget for that has happened in previous years, or is this the first? And
We've been very fortunate not to have encountered any significant fraud or cyber attacks, but this was a case where we had a vendor submit a direct deposit change request. And, we do have normal steps for reviewing that to make sure it's coming from a valid source, but it was very authentic looking, and it did make it through our screenings. Couple weeks later, we processed a payment to that vendor, and it just so happened to be a vendor that's working on a construction project, so it was a large invoice that was paid. A few weeks after that, we get another email to change that same vendor's direct deposit information again. And our one of the staff members in my department, it raised a flag with her, and she brought it to our attention. We started immediately looking into it, and we contacted the vendor directly, and they said no, they did not receive the prior payment. We contacted the sheriff's office, and they started an investigation, and we were this was, I want to get more information when I can compile all the details, because they're still investigating this, but the DA's office and the sheriff's office were really instrumental in recovering a lot of the funds that we did get back. They were able to trace, we kind of led them on, the vendor on, the second time around. And so they were able to watch to see when we were going to make a payment. We made a small payment, and they were able to trace it to that bank account and find the individual. And, it's kind of expanded to the FBI level. So we were very fortunate, but it still does in the end cost us $157,000, but that's better than, $500 or $600. So our insurance, didn't really quite fit under the cybersecurity insurance, but I think all things considered, we are very fortunate. We did take some other steps in our department just to be more diligent, and we used to have our direct deposit change form on our website, so that was immediately taken down, and any vendor direct deposit changes, we do verbally confirm them with the vendor. It's just there's so much of that. We get fake emails from what looks legitimately like an employee fairly often requesting an employee change their direct deposit. So we're kind of used to seeing those, but we were just surprised by this, but we've taken measures to hopefully prevent that
What
sort
had
of thing from
happened,
happening
say,
again.
when they had the second ask?
Well, we knew then, the second ask, we would have, if we would have just said, no, we know we can tell you're a fraud, that would have ended it, but we realized it was an opportunity to potentially maybe catch the person
No,
by.
I understand,
yeah.
but what if, I don't even know why I'm asking this, but it's. where
Well,
there
we
was
would-
CSI stuff.
If we
so-
would not have been able to.
So say they asked for the first one for 200,000 and it got paid,
Uh-huh,
how would we have
Oh.
found out that
we would probably not have,
It
it
would've
probably
just
would have
happened.
taken the vendor to call us to say, why is our payment late? We didn't
Ah,
receive
okay,
our
okay.
payment. It probably would have gotten to that
because it was a
point.
change? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because at some point, the vendor would have realized they didn't get their
Okay,
invoice
that makes
paid,
sense.
so,
Right.
yeah.
It's just like on TV.
Just like the bank
It's-
was.
What channel is that? Okay.
Nothing else.
I got caught up in it, and forgot we got to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Wow, a lot of financial stuff here. Proposed resolution, amend the 2023 budget for year-end reconciliations, finance.
There's an amended version of this.
Oh, this isn't the miscellaneous one, yeah.
No, the finance one changed.
Oh,
It went down.
Okay. So, we did have, so for our main finance department, 1310, we did have some staff expenses that went over budget, and that was due to us making, through the fiscal reorg, we had some positions that transferred under finance during the, like, when we had vacancies and we needed to refill them, rather than refilling them in the department and then later transferring them we just refilled those positions under finance, but we didn't at the time, do any budget amendments right at that time. So we did have personnel costs that were over budget as it related to those positions that were filled under finance. Even so, we had other vacancies during the year, so it wasn't as much as you would have expected. And we were able to offset majority of those expenses within our department. We were under in our contractual costs, so we were able to cover that without trying to transfer from other departments into ours. And then, the real property tax account 1330, they did have some contractual costs that were over, but they, again, were able to offset by their surplus in their personnel costs. They also had a couple of vacancies this year that were able to use those funds to offset those expenses. Similarly, with the 1989 accounts, we were able to offset those within our 0.1s and 8s between finance and real property tax and insurance administration.
Any questions on the resolution in front of us?
You didn't?
Okay.
But you did change these.
Now, do you have this amended one?
I do,
Okay,
yes. Yeah, so
We're going to need a motion to amend it, so the A 1310 under increase appropriation, 1310.1 gets changed from $38,062 to $35,583, changing the total from $53,131 to $50,652. And then the A 1310 under decrease appropriations will go from $42,632 to $40,153, to change the total here also to $50,652, which matches the total from above in the increase. Would somebody like to make a motion to amend it to
I would
that?
like to, thank you.
Lisa would like to amend it to that. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor of amending the resolution, say aye.
I,
Is there any discussions, questions, comments, concerns about the amended resolution? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. I think we ought to take a break.
trying to find the mustard.
I can only do like 7 reconciliations, and I got it. Oh, we'll forge through here.
Thank you.
Kitty's gotta get home, so. Amend the 2023 budget for year-end reconciliations miscellaneous.
Okay, as you can see, this is a lot of miscellaneous changes, and starting with the first couple of I'm not gonna necessarily go through each one of the smaller ones, but we are able to offset them. The 1330 dot roll, those are personnel costs. Those are charges that we charge back to the municipalities that we do their tax rolls for. And they had a surplus in their .4, so they're able to offset the small increases in the personnel and benefits. As you might remember, starting in 2023, we moved the 1430, this is county employee, countywide employee expense, and that's mainly the cost of the CSEA union president. So those expenses were slightly more than what was budgeted in 23. And those are part of what is offset, the net offset of all of the other things that I'll talk about. Sorry, let me open a file that I had to reconcile all these.
It's a $2 one.
I know, just $2, but
Here,
it
why don't
can't
I
be.
take care of that?
Sorry,
I have a $2.
I had it open here just a second ago.
What about that $2 million one? Can you cover that, Bob?
Sorry. I thought I had another file open, but, the contractual municipal sales tax, that is, offset by the change in the revenue. So that's just the pass-through of revenue that goes to the municipalities. So we have to record it as an expense and a revenue. We have been trending, with the surplus of sales tax this year. So what we budgeted as the expense for the municipalities, that's over budget because we have a surplus of sales tax. So we have to increase the expense and the revenue for that. The next one, the personal services contingent account. So take you back to the 2023 budget when we were budgeting for vacancy savings. How we did it in 2023 is we had a credit amount in the .1s in the contingent account and an expense for employee benefits in the contingent account. So we don't record any actual to the contingent account. So what we have to do now is to say we're gonna balance out the contingent account, but we have to take from the surpluses of other county departments. So the employee benefits account for contingent, the decrease appropriation, so we had no expenses there, even though we had a budget of 230. So we can reduce that budget to 0. We also are proposing for the departments that did have .1 surpluses this year, the bigger ones where we knew we would probably see vacancies. I just kind of went through them. I used some of the ones that had some of the bigger vacancies, but also, the first 3 there, district attorney, public defender, and a county attorney. As you know, you've been hearing through the year the difficulty they've had in filling the attorney position. So those 3 departments did see, large surpluses in their .1s. Additionally, Board of Elections, the sheriff, and the jail. So those are the other there were many other departments that did have a surplus in their point ones, but they also have corresponding decreases in revenue. So I didn't try to adjust the point ones from those accounts, but that's my rationale on how I offset the contingent account. Any questions on those? I now remember what I did have a color-coded version of it, so you could see which was matching up with which adjustments here. Community college then was over 37,000. And that was offset with, sorry, I've lost my train of thought here. I thought it increased the sales tax. So between the, isn't that the sales, that's the sales tax I think that I used. So between the amount that was over for the county-wide expense, the, personnel cost of $35.22 and the $2, and the amount for community college is offset by the last, increased revenue line, which is basically coming from sales tax. So because sales tax is in the department miscellaneous, I use the surplus of sales tax to balance that out. The other remaining adjustment here are the transfers to capital, and that is due to the fact that when we transferred the ARPA projects from 22 to 23, we forgot to include the interfund transfers that go along with that. For the ARPA projects where the ARPA funds are funding a capital project. So what happens is that as we're spending down on the capital, we keep the money for ARPA projects in an investment account, but as we spend down, we have to recognize that revenue. So Todd does an entry every month to recognize that revenue. But we didn't budget for the interfund transfers for the revenue that was gonna get applied in the capital fund. So this was the net. So there's a increase to the appropriations, but it's also the increase in revenue, the ARPA revenue that has been recognized this year for the projects that were capital projects that were funded with ARPA funds. I know this is a lot of accounting in this resolution.
You made sense twice so far tonight. I caught that one too. I mean, to me.
Okay.
No, she makes sense. I know. To me, I meant. Questions, comments, concerns, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. All right.
Do you need that? I didn't think so.
Amend the 2023 budget for year-end reconciliations, human resources. Don't be afraid of it.
I'm not afraid of it, it just picks up everything, and I speak loudly anyway. Good evening, Debbie Mikowski, Director of HR. So this overage in employee benefits is due to changes in employee health insurance elections. It is being offset by savings in our personal services costs.
If I could write quicker, we'd vote quicker. Any questions, comments, concerns? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe we should take a break now.
We're almost done.
Then we can go. All right, our next proposed resolution. Heavy on the proposed. Setting salary for law graduate trainee.
Patrick Slagle, County Attorney. So earlier you looked at a local law for a law graduate position. This is a step before that, a trainee position. Again, recruitment and retention are key, critical to what we're proposing. Basically, we're looking at law students who are in their second or third year. They're starting to think about their futures, what they want to do for a career. If we can capture those individuals, bring them in here, have them do some great work for the county, and then they could potentially look to want to move on to that graduate position and maybe an attorney position here at the county. As you know, we've talked many times about the shortage in attorneys, and recruitment and retention is key, so this really builds on that from the early days. In law school, you really look at your second and your third years or when you're really looking for those internships or paid positions to advance your career. Oftentimes, people go to district attorney's offices or public defenders or county attorney's offices, and so this allows us to capture those individuals.
Questions, comments, concerns? I think it's
About how many are, sorry, about how many are we just thinking this is a single individual, one person?
Oh, no, it's
You wanna-
as many as we can get. Again, as my office has looked for attorneys before, the public defender's constantly looking for attorneys. I know the DA's been here before, you're looking for attorneys and ways we can recruit, so UB is not that far away. It's a great law school, so any interested individual who may want to see what the county's about may take advantage of this. We'll work with the different law departments, the law department, the PD, the DA, the MHSS, and they potentially bring in individuals that can help with a lot of the paralegal, learn the ropes, learn the area of the law, and they like it, then they'll be able to potentially advance if they meet the qualifications.
So this is not creating new positions, this is looking towards the open positions that we have currently.
Correct. It a little bit of both, I
Okay.
guess, to be honest. I mean, it would be new positions, but again, there's so many openings, so much
Yeah.
need for these positions that it would be a way to get someone in the front door, to start them out at a lower level and then build them up and train them so that by the time they're fully admitted attorney, they're well versed in both county, policies and the job they'll be performing. So they
And we know
would
that as well.
correct, and we know them well. So they would be new positions, but again, they're positions that we have a need for right now for attorney, which everyone's struggling to find them. So get them, while they're still in law school at a lower rate and be able to train them up.
So if we were fully staffed legally on both sides and all that through the county, we wouldn't even be having this discussion.
Probably not. No.
Okay,
No.
all right, that
No.
answers what I was about.
Mhm.
Thanks.
for recruitment.
Recruitment
One of
and
the two.
retention.
Yeah, one of the two. Questions, comments, concerns? Any other questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor?
I,
Opposed? Carried. Establishing a naming policy for county-funded industrial and business parks.
So I was approached by Majority Leader Dave Wilfong about this, and pretty much as we look to invest in shovel-ready sites, business parks, things of that nature, the idea was to establish this policy that finds a way to honor local heroes who've fought in the military. And so the policy would name economic development areas for fallen members of the armed forces, with a primary emphasis on recognizing and memorializing those who are Chautauqua County residents, and looking really at the enlisted or non-commissioned officers who died in combat. Well, you all probably love to name a park after the Patrick J. Slagle Industrial Park. It's okay. I'll pass on that. It's a way I think legislator Wilfong had a great idea to really how can we honor Chautauqua County residents who fought bravely and passed away in combat. So this is a potential policy and a way to do that.
That's a good idea. Any questions, comments, concerns? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, we have amend senior real property tax exemption.
Do I have to state my name again? Bob, do I have to state my name again?
Sure.
Kim
Kinda
Lane,
fun.
Director of Real Property Tax. Okay, so to give you a little background, this is a senior exemption. You have to be 65 years or older. And there's also another income requirement with this one. The current income is 22,000, which was established in 2017. It was the last time it was looked at. Once again, we're looking at increasing this exemption to the state maximum, which is 58,400. I did ask Office of the Aging what our average income for seniors in the county. If she had that information, we found it was roughly around $34,000. I was approached by the local assessors because of the new cost of living increase on their people's social securities. There was going to be quite a few seniors that were going to be losing this exemption if we didn't take a look at it. Another thing is that we set a maximum. All of the local municipalities can also set it. Some follow what we do, some have their own. They're also able to make a change. They don't have to do and follow what we do, so there is, that difference also. As for an impact on the taxes, nothing will change right now because the seniors won't be losing their exemption. So it goes forward, and unfortunately, I have no idea how many seniors are going to be 65 coming up this next coming year and what their incomes are to know what kind of impact it will have next year and moving forward. But I figured, once again, if it's at 34,000, what their income is now, average, if we move it to the maximum income, we're not going to have to be doing this every couple years to make sure seniors aren't losing it, because it's crunch time. March 1st is the assessor deadline, so everything's coming into them now to make decisions on who gets these exemptions and who doesn't, or who qualifies, I should say.
And this will be effective March 1st for the current tax season. Kim has done an excellent job of reaching out to the assessors, so they're aware of this change. If voted on and approved by the legislator, then it will go in effect as of March 1st.
And there could be another hiccup. There's a proposed legislation in the state that would make it so we couldn't foreclose on properties that had a senior exemption, a veteran's exemption, or the disabled exemption. If these residents were to lose these exemptions, we could then foreclose on seniors who would then be losing their homes.
I have talked to a few seniors in the recent months. Some of them were just over our limit, which is sad because that's not a lot of money to be paying groceries, taxes, heat, maintenance. I do think that the current number we had was far too low to help
I
the
agree.
seniors we have that can even make a little bit of money and still try to maintain their households. And I've also talked to a senior or two that were around the $30,000 range, which also pushes them out of the program. So there's a big difference between $22,000 and $34,000 when it comes to people on fixed incomes.
I did speak with the assessors. Well, there were only two at the meeting I went to today, and some of the seniors are losing their exemptions over $50.
There's gotta
And
be a
they're
limit,
they're
though.
taking that exemption away, and it's sad because they're choosing to eat or pay their taxes, and it's just.
There's a fine line there
Yeah.
with Social Security and stuff.
Mhm.
This is what I heard. Somebody that was on Social Security told me this. I have no clue what they're talking about. Yeah, and there's no way, you can't call Social Security and say, don't give me $102 increase, just give me,
But even their increase, if they lost
98.
their exemption, their increase still isn't gonna cover what their new tax bill is going to
but
be.
what I'm saying is when the increase disqualifies you
Right, totally.
at $13 or something,
Mhm.
but you can't call and say, don't give that
Right.
to me, you have to take it.
Mhm.
So, because I call, every time we get an increase, I call and say, don't give me the increase, and they say, we have to. So I take it.
And then one of the ideas is to, the increase from
Just kidding,
the
Patrick,
current.
I don't really call it.
is the idea is to increase it to the ceiling of what we can, so that it basically right size that we follow kind of what the state has put forth, saying that if we raise it to this, then we don't come back year after year having to keep gradually increasing. And it also gives some kind of certainty to the individuals out there. They don't say, well, I make it this year, I don't know what's gonna happen next year, I have to wait and see. So it kind of gives you that ceiling, it's a lot of wiggle room to be able to have their income grow.
One less thing
within
to
that.
worry about.
That's always great.
No, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've heard that seniors have more time to worry about things.
Oh my gosh.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
The resolution refers to a partial real property tax exemption. Could you explain what that means, a partial?
So if you qualify for the senior aged exemption, it's 50% of your assessed value that is reduced on your tax bill.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you. And number 26. Oh, you're still here.
Yes, last but not least.
Amend spending plan and 2023 budget for Chautauqua County projects funded by the American Rescue Plan Act, also known as ARPA.
Good evening. My name is Blake Ehrig, Director of Administrative Services. This resolution here is just stating the various ARPA projects have been completed and the associated accounts can be closed, with majority of the projects coming in under budget, with one being over roughly $30. But there's about $3,700 going back into the ARPA pool, but that is it.
Makes sense.
It does.
You're 1 for 1 with me.
Yeah.
All in favor, questions, comments, concerns? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Blake.
All right.
Does anybody have any other for the good of the committee or the residents of Chautauqua County? Motion to adjourn,
I'll make that motion.
second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Here you go. Here's your last 3 resolutions.
I'll just sign Lisa's name.
Just, you probably should not just sign Lisa's name. I would like to add an increase in legislature's budget for unclickable pens.
Those 3, and then Lisa needs to get them back.
Lisa needs them,
You both need to sign.
Okay. I support that.
Isn't this fun?